shattered dreams, served on a bedrock of broken stream. It seemed revenge is a dish best served cold. A minor for pulling at these spaghetti thoughts. Spare a penny for these expensive thoughts. I was shortchanged. You brought me blind with my eyes wide open. I trusted you. Trust doesn't just break, it scatters. Fragments moving inside the dome of this pink matter. They keep asking what's the matter. This was supposed to be a long time thing, my love. A forever thing, my love. You and I go together type thing, my love. So tell me how did forever become never? Ooh, heartbreak is never easy. Ooh, heartbreak should never see me. Ooh, heartbreak almost see me. I say, ooh, heartbreak almost kill me. Heartbreak, a chilling remembrance of words sharply exchanged. The promise you made was central to my peace. The centerpiece of the foundation we built. And I'd be damned if another man tear it down. But tear it down, another man did. You didn't listen when I said my trust was already in pieces. Trust doesn't just break, it scatters. Fragments moving inside the dome of this pink matter. They keep asking what's the matter. This was supposed to be a long time thing, my love. A forever thing, my love. You and I go together type thing, my love. So tell me how did forever become never? Heartbreak is never easy. Heartbreaks have never seen me. Heartbreak almost killed me. Say, heartbreak almost killed me. Oh, heartbreak. Oh, heartbreak has done a number on me. Heartbreak is surrounding me. Heartbreak is surrounding me. It's all I see. Heartbreak won't leave me. It won't leave me. It won't leave me. Heartbreak is around me. It's gonna lay me. Heartbreak, 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 heartbreak. Heartbreak is never easy. Heartbreak should never see me. Heartbreak almost killed me. Heartbreak is never easy. Heartbreak is never easy. Heartbreak is never easy. Heartbreak is never.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode podcast where we talk about relationships here. Yes, we have an explosive conversation. We're talking to you today, guys, about one thing and one thing only. What happens when the ex comes back into someone that you're talking to, their life? What do you do? What do you do when the ex comes right back into the life of the person that you're talking to? Now, someone might ask, how would you know? And I can tell you, listen, somehow you're going to know, okay? But that's the topic we're talking about, all right? And I'm sure we've all got some stories of talking to someone and their ex came back into the picture, okay? All right? So we're going to have a real conversation today about this topic. But I'm joined by some two fabulous brothers today to discuss this, share a perspective, and really just have a really good conversation around relationships and hopefully help anybody who's in this situation. I always say this, a lot of people feel like this is plantain topics, and I always say plantain is good. It's healthy, you know what I mean? Definitely one of the foods that Daniel was able to eat on his fast. I can tell you that for sure. So we're gonna have these plantain topics because people are actually going through this kind of stuff on a daily basis. You'd be surprised what people are actually enduring because people don't want to talk about things because they sometimes feel shame. So today We're going to break that barrier. We're going to break that little misdemeanor and asset and that conversation. And we're going to have a really good conversation. But I've got two fabulous gentlemen who are smart, handsome, strong men. You know what I'm saying? To strong men who can talk about relationships in a healthy, balanced way as well. Let me let them introduce themselves. Let me go Gus first. Gus, introduce yourself, brother. Let them know who you are and what are going on and them things there.
Yes. So my name's Gus, and I didn't even know how to introduce myself. There's loads of things I get up to, but I'm a speaker. Let me say I'm a speaker. I focus on transformation heavily, and transformation covers pretty much almost any aspect of your life that you want to transform. There's core fundamental principles that I think apply across all of life. So I cover a lot of this, and relationships happens to be something that I happened to focus on a lot last year and this year when I wrote the book, The Biblical Dating Framework. So relationship has become a popular topic as well. I'll leave it there.
Master J.
Yes, welcome, my brothers. It's J Anderson, as some of you know. I'm building a men's ministry called Kingdom in Need of God, Kingdom in Need of Greatness. I also look at transformation as well, but from the aspect of rebuilding the man. So whether you're young, trying to become something, or you've been through some seriously harsh steps as a man, completely been stripped, had some losses, and you're trying to figure out where are you going from here? What type of man do you want to be in the future? Not from an acting point of view, but actually rebuilding yourself from within based on biblical standards. So that's what I do, man. So as guys, definitely happy to be here with all of you, man.
All right. Listen, let's get into this festivity of conversation because it's a real scene. Okay, all right. And I think it's interesting. So I'm going to give you a scenario to start it off to see what your perspective is before we jump deeper into this topic. Let's say, for instance, you've been talking to someone for 2 months, right? Sorry, let's call it a month. 2 months is a bit long. You've been talking to someone for a month, okay? You've been having great conversations. You're getting to know each other. You've exchanged numbers. You've had 1 or 2 dates now, and you're kind of thinking, yeah, this person's kind of cool. I'd like to get to know them a bit more, go a little bit more deeper with the situation, right? They then share with you, oh my God, like, yo, my head's a bit all over the place right now. Or they start, the energy starts shifting. So you kind of notice that and you ask a question and they say, look, can't lie to you, like my ex has just come back into the picture. I'm trying to, my head's a bit spun at the moment. I'm trying to figure what I'm going to do myself, right? I want to know what your reaction is to the fact this has happened. You know what I mean? Of course, some people are married here, so it's a bit different for them. But I want to know what your reaction is to the scenario, because I've got a second scenario differently after that to see how we interpret this as well. Gus, how would you handle this scenario? How would you react in this scenario?
So we've been talking for, you said a couple of months.
Today I said 1 month. 1 month.
1 month. Been talking for 1 month. I'm interested. And they tell me that the ex has come back. So I'm the kind of person where I think I'm learning to balance a lot more in between what God has called me to do as a speaker, as a teacher, and also learning to just be Gus for my actual timeline for my story. Because it's very easy to get into that educational point where, because I'm not in that deep, I'm the kind of inquisitive person who can be like, okay, how are you feeling? What's going through your mind? It's like, I want to understand, because if there's an opportunity for me to share some wisdom, even if this situation is not for me, I'm the kind of person who will leave, but I'll share my 2 pence on something. You go think about that one. I'm going to distance myself, but think about these things. And they may never see me again, depending on whatever happens. But I'm that kind of guy. But I think the innate response is naturally, as a man, you're territorial. I saw you, I like you, I want you to myself. That's why I came here. So if you're telling me something about your ex, the natural instinct is, okay, you go. Even if you're thinking about it and it's a bit, I'm 50-50, I'll still tell you to go, because I'm not doing that. So why are you doing
that? I hear it. I actually hear it. Jay, first impressions of that, it's been a month talking. It sounds like this person getting to know them and telling you the head's spun. Ex has come back in the picture. Well, I'll go on for the team there.
I think the key aspect there is the head spun, because I'm not doing my job properly if I don't already know of the existence of this ex in the first place, unless she's completely lied to me, right? So I'll already be aware of what their relationship was like, at least whatever level of disclosure she's done in those 4 weeks. So it's going to be different, like if it's 3, 4, 5, 6 months in, right? But I'd already be aware. And the fact that she's saying her head is spun, I'm already understanding it's only been a month, right? I know we can have whirlwind romances, all that type of stuff, but it's only been a month compared to however long she spent with this guy. So already, I should already think, is she over the situation anyway? And the fact that he now comes back, I then need to ask the question because her head is spun. That means there is an aspect of her that wasn't. There's an aspect of her that is in consideration of going back there, regardless of, do you know what I mean? Regardless of whatever that relationship was like. So I think I'm with Gus on this. Like, it's not even about our egos or insecurities, etc. It's we just get out of the way, because if we, regardless of whether we're still in your life or not, you got to figure out some things. And we rather not be, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Run over while you're trying to figure out those things. Because quite often, figuring out those things means you're going to go and see that person. You're going to go reminisce. You know, there might be things that you don't admit. Let's put it that way. And that's from a Christian or non-Christian perspective, because we're human beings, right? So this is why it's like, okay, mind the gap. And it's no hard feelings. I would much rather you figure out what you need than put me as a triangle in that situation.
100%, I hear you. Now, my second scenario, it's been 6 months. You guys are together. You're hearing her talk, and it sounds like the ex reached back out, but it sounds like she wants to have a closure conversation. There's some things she didn't get to say to him before, and opportunity has arisen. She wants to have a conversation with the ex. I want to know how you handle that, what your reaction is to that situation. Gus is smiling. Talk to me, Gus.
I'm smiling almost because I almost wanted to even say, Jay, you take this one first, but I didn't help myself there. So my knee-jerk reaction is, hell no. That's my knee-jerk reaction. Because I'm thinking, conversation about what? Where am I when you're having this conversation? I'm at home praying for you. Like, what am I doing during this conversation? And I guess this is me being honest and speaking maybe from also, again, another, like a prideful place, for lack of a better word. That's kind of where I'm talking from. So, because it depends what's happened. If it's like the relationship ended in such a terrible way and there's things that you wanted to get out and say that you didn't say, I guess I might be more likely to see where you're coming from. But if it's a thing of, I can see that you want to hear certain words from him, and that's really what it's about, and then that will make you feel like, actually, now it's past me, that I will respond differently to that as well. Because that then kind of tells me this person has power over you. And I think those are the differences. You still needing to be like, oh, I need to go and speak to them. I still feel as if the person does have power over you, clearly. But I feel as if it's slightly different when you just want to say certain things versus you're actually secretly waiting for them to say sorry and to admit that they were wrong, and to admit that actually that they need you, or to admit that life has been difficult. So I just feel as if the moment an ex is involved, yeah, it's a problem in my eyes. I just feel as if if I had a son, I would say, son, back off. There's many women in this world, many who are ready right now. You don't need to go through this. But I can understand that when emotions are involved, you guys have already been talking. She doesn't sound like she wants to go back, but she just wants to say something. I can see how it could be more difficult than it seems on the surface. But I'd rather somebody who's done with their ex, please.
Master J.
To me, it amplifies everything, because now we spend 6 months. The fact that your ex can come back and just still show that he or for the ladies listening to this as well, or you know what I mean, he or she still has some sort of hold over you, it just makes me think of what you were unable to give me. You know, unknowingly, there was a part of her that, in our case, that she was never able to give me and probably wouldn't. You know, that's how I'm going to look at the situation now. In all transparency, bro, I mean, I was the other guy in that scenario more recently. And then that lady is now my wife. So, you know, I came back unknowingly. I didn't even come back to say let's be together or nothing like that. It was just I had to offload some things verbally, you know, for all you people who don't have sensible minds, but verbally. And you know, and I did that, right? And then she responded. Her response meant that we didn't talk again for another 7 months or however long it was until my birthday. But I knew at the time, in the back of my mind, the fact that you're having conversations with me in the first place. And by the way, it's not like she was in a relationship, but it was a guy that she was praying about, right? This was someone who kept on, you know, back and forth, off and on and stuff like that. So, you know, the fact that we were talking in the first place, we were both open to having conversations, you know, that number one in itself is, all right, there's something there that wants to hear this. The fact that we didn't speak was more so, I want to give you the space to figure out what you got going on, because this was going on before I came back to say anything. And it's only fair I give you that, because again, I don't want that triangle. I don't want to put you in any nonsensical situation. However, I also acknowledge me coming back, even if it started off as 5%, it would have caused a crack. But for there was already a crack, it would have opened the crack a lot more, right? And yeah, by the time we started speaking again, that situation had already run its course. I'm not saying that's because of me. That's, you know, that was her own situation that, you know, that she realized this wasn't for her. But ultimately, you know, she was quite open with who I was, where I come from, what's going on. And he was not feeling it at all. He felt big time away. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I look at it. It's on the flip side, based off experience, I don't think it's a situation that we should be in. If anyone is going to come along, even if it's a small percentage, you need to pay attention, because if things were truly done and closed off, then literally there will be a shutdown. Like we talked about before, right? Just a complete shutdown, complete elimination. You don't need to hear anything. You don't need to have a discussion. I'm the type of guy, I'm not going to encourage you to go, oh yeah, have a speak, you know, go and get caught. No. I'm not for that. Last week, I gave another story with another ex of what I've been through, right? How she did that to me, right? Her ex came back and, you know, ended up breaking up because of that. Then she tried to come back to me and I was like, no. So yeah, it's a messy situation. I know there's going to be people who try to say, oh, it's okay, it's blah, blah, blah. Nah, man, it's a extremely messy situation. So I don't wish that for anyone.
Definitely hear you on that, and I think everybody's been in situations where they've either been on the other end, or you know, the ex end, or they've been the person who's been in a relationship with the person going to ex end. It just never it never really works out well for someone. Someone's going to miss out, you know what I mean? And depending on where you are in that position and what she chooses, that's a difficulty. And I think you're right. Sometimes you've got to let the person just kind of sit on their own and figure it out and not be present. I think we've all been on both sides of that mountain, and yeah, it ain't a pretty show when you're involved in it. So then, okay, in a situation, then someone could say that it's maybe an insecurity then on the man's end, or even on the woman's end, to stop someone going to have that conversation. Like, let's say if the ex pops up and they're like, I just want to, and I'm putting it as specific, of course, because we're not saying if an ex comes back, it might be more than just a closure conversation, and we can discuss that in a second or two. But let's say it is a closure conversation. Someone could say, well, you're being insecure by, you know, not allowing your partner to go and speak to their ex, or you know, you saying that you're not comfortable with their ex going to speak to someone. Like, you should be secure in your relationship, secure in your love, secure in your you know, that she wants you or he wants you, whichever one it is. Is it insecurity or is it discernment in this scenario when it comes to talking to that ex? You know, how do you see it? Who likes to take this one first?
I'll take it first, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? My view has changed on this back and forth. So what I'm going to say, it's a bit of both, but I want to stress insecurity is not a bad thing. It's how we use it or what we do with it. That's what makes it bad. So I think, especially because it's used as against us men all the time, I think we need to take that power back and say, nah, cool. If I'm insecure, I'm insecure. It's not a bad thing. I should be in this situation because look at it. It's crazy, right? But where I stand on it is two aspects. One, sometimes as human beings, it's not until we put ourselves in a situation where we do make the dumb mistake, right? It's not that we go out to make the dumb mistake, but we put ourselves in a situation that now creates a mess, for example. It's not always we've been plotting, we've been planning. There are things that we need to flee from. Now, there is a point, because then the question is, are people walking around with desires that they're not really addressing, that they've put to the side, that might come out? They may even think it's gone, but that might come out in a situation. Because then that leads me to my second point, which is about the main thing I'm looking at is your behavior, how you responding to this. So if I'm seeing, regardless of my opinion on it, if I'm seeing that you actually want to have a conversation, or you're not having a conversation because you feel like it's going to upset me, I'm going to raise questions. Because the only response you should be giving is to shut it down immediately. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for being honest. But you're not telling me seeking permission. You're not telling me and then you haven't said anything. In fact, you can tell me at the time, but I still expect to shut it down. If that's not happening, there's no excuse, there's no gaslighting you can give. My eyebrows are going to be raised, because why are you not doing that? Because it's what you would expect me to do. If you now turn around and say, oh, but you can, if your ex can come around, or I'm straight away thinking, oh, okay, this relationship is not, remember, 6 months here, so this relationship is not what I thought it was. Some people get engaged and married in 6 months, you know, at that point, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, especially as a Christian couple, we're reading the word, we're going places 6 months in. Yeah, I'm going to raise several questions, because that shouldn't even be a conversation like that. Like, there should be a shutdown moving forward. If it's a thing where you are considering any type of conversation, I even have to adjust my own plans. Do you know what I mean? I have to look at how I see this. Is it really this? Am I in limerence? Or whatever decisions I'm going to make, do I need to postpone them? Because I need to make sure that you are 100% for me. Because see that journey, if there's any aspect of you that wants to be with anyone else, and it does happen a lot, it's going to be handicapped. So again, like I said, I've been the person in a situation where I think if we look at our past, I think any of our exes can say, so you really wanted each other all that time, right? And then you have to ask the question, did I ever give myself properly to someone? And the answer would be, yeah, in some ways, because it's not like we were but still you never truly know, because it feels different. It's unexplainable, right? It feels completely different. So, for me, I get all that. So once again, there's no situation or scenario that can change. Call me insecure all you want. Do it all you want. I accept it. I'll say yes. Insecure. Look in the dictionary. Me, look at my face. But it doesn't change the situation. It's a nasty one. If this is what you're presenting to me, then I already know it's likely over.
Gus.
Yeah, I think the more like that Jay's talking, because I'm really trying to do that role that you're usually playing of devil's advocate. And for this one, I can't really see it, bro. I can't see any angle. I'm even thinking on basic etiquette of how life works as human beings, like general etiquette. If you're trying to move into a property, how many of us are usually moving in the fridge when the previous owner is still getting their hangers from the closet at the same time? I've never experienced this, because I think landlords understand the ideal situation is this person leaves, we clean the property. That's a very key step. We clean the property, and if possible, we make sure that the next tenant comes into the house and they can almost see no signs of anybody having lived there. The landlord, if they could have it their way, they'll make the house look pristine. So when you come in there, it's a feeling of respect towards yourself as the person who's coming in, because, they respect me. But also it's a feeling of pride and achievement for yourself as the person who's coming to move in as a new tenant. Because in your head, you know that somebody's lived there before. It's not a new house that you've built it from the ground, but the cleanliness and the completeness and the readiness of it makes you feel confident and happy to move in and really settle in and get comfortable. Now, if the landlord says you can move into this place and it looks perfect, it looks clean, but then they say, oh, by the way, 6 months from now, this previous owner, for whatever reason, they're coming back from holiday, they need to just come and move their stuff from the garage. And there's 1 or 2 bits here and there. Nobody will be like, oh yeah, that's fine. A lot of people probably feel like, okay, but like, why is it not done? There'll be question marks around it because the feeling is you're done. This is now my space. And so if it's my space, I don't want to have any overlap or sharing. I don't want you in my property. So that's the way that I'm looking at this. When it comes to relationships, that's the same way that I see it. We know that people have dated other people. We know that people have had memories and past with other people. When I come in, ideally, if I would like a house vacated, certainly I'd like a human being's life vacated, for sure. Because that's like an inanimate object. So how much more an actual human being? I want you to be done with it. And there's an aspect of it which I feel as if it's a righteous jealousy. Like when God says I'm a jealous God, it's for the fact that I want you for me. And so the same way that Jay's saying insecurity or jealousy, call me jealous. In fact, you're telling me that I'm a godly man because I want monogamy in every sense of it from the ground up. That's fine. So that's actually my stance. And I would stand 10 toes on that one. A girl tells me anything, oh, X this, X that, please be going. And stay there. Even if you decide actually from that conversation and realize I love you more, I still feel like telling you should stay there. Because now you've added in a question mark, which I can't verify. How do I verify that truly you're done? How do I know you're not coming back because he actually came and he told you, get out of here, blah, blah, I never rated you anyway. How do I know that you're not coming back to revenge against him? And now I don't know. You've added in an element that cannot be controlled. And you can't prove, like you finished it for yourself. And so I would say to a woman or a man, the higher value the person you're about to get with, the more likely it's now finished. Because people who are high value socially, they will respect themselves enough and they have enough options to move away from you very quickly. And so if you get somebody who stays, yes, society might say, oh, you're a bold man, pat you on the back, you're a good man, you're not an insecure man. Actually, that might be you as somebody who's more desperate. And that's why you are willing to bargain with this. So I think be careful of the accolades that society is giving you. Ask yourself, how much are you respecting yourself? Ask yourself, do you feel proud of this decision? If you do, then maybe that's your standard. Maybe you're getting what it is that you're attracting it.
I hear that. Okay, strong. I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. Did you want to add something to that, Jay, before I ask the next question? Jay was stunned.
Imagine you're saying that you're cool with it, or the dynamic you have, you don't even have a choice. That's wild. And while your partner has gone to go and see their ex, you're sitting there doing what exactly? Like you're saying, bro, doing what? Like doing what? You're there waiting for the play-by-play. Your friends should say they're ashamed of you. In fact, you probably wouldn't even tell your friends. In fact, sometimes I would say I respect ladies because ladies will actually go and tell their friends. As guys, we won't do that. We won't do that. We'll just sit there. Like, no. Like, can you imagine the situation, bro? Like, I don't know what your next question is, yeah, but there's a point I want to make about Ephesians 4:25, right? Because I acknowledge it's not just even about exes. When it comes to boundaries, there's people in your past that have never been an ex, but you're still giving them access to you in some type of way. These people will still come back as well, especially if they hear that you're in a new situation, a new relationship. And sometimes I used to go to one side, but I'll also say, whether you're in a situation that they can respect, they will still come back to try. Just like if they're in a situation that they don't respect, they will still come back to try, because it's not even about that. They're just testing you. You've given them access. They're saying, are you still willing to give me that access? This to me, and this is the difficult part for a lot of people, because it's easy to talk about exes, although some people don't say all the story. But there's also people in our past that qualify for the complete cutoff as well, right? And just to say the scripture, so Ephesians 4:25, nowadays I use the Amplified Bible version just to give a bit more to the scripture. So therefore, rejecting all falsehood, whether lying, defrauding, telling half-truths, spreading rumors, any such as these, speak truth each one of his neighbor, for we are all parts of one another, and we all are parts of the body of Christ, right? Now, we know that this can be applied to many things that we do, many things that we say. But for context of this conversation, there's a lot of people who give half-truths over time, or they omit certain information over time. They're not honest about what that situation is, and they'll even fight you. They'll argue with you because you're clocking, but they'll say, no, it's not that, etc. And bit part information over time, it will actually confirm exactly what you're saying. Those people also will do certain things as well to kind of still stay on the radar. And I think we've talked about this before. Just because you're saying that you see them as a friend is irrelevant. It's acknowledging how are they responding to you. That's not a friend. That's a person in waiting, just waiting for the right opportunity, right? So this is where it transcends just the standard X to me. And this is why now it goes back to the point, I'm looking at you. Because the majority of the time, why wasn't you fully upfront with, if anything, what you have done before I came along, so that I can make my decision, I can be aware of what I have to contend with, because I already know they're probably going to come back in some form somehow. They're probably going to want to assess the situation, test it. These things happen, human beings. I've been that guy when I was younger. You know, I did it because I felt like I could. I can give you stories, right? But, you know what I mean? We'll move on to the next question. If it's relevant, I'll talk about it. But yeah, this is why for me, whatever angle, it's not okay. But we live and we learn. We grow up, we start acting right. We realize, you know, not to put people in a situation, but also karma's a thing. You know, whether you're a Christian or not, karma's a thing, right? And you just think to yourself, when you get to a certain point, you don't even want to be in that situation yourself. So let's not put that out there.
Absolutely. And it does lean on to what you actually kind of said, because we're talking about boundaries and the importance of boundaries when it comes to how we deal with exes. So, you know, the kind of expectations you're putting on each other in terms of having a safe relationship. I remember a situation where a previous ex, we said, oh, look, how do you feel about exes? And it was like, yeah, I don't talk to my ex. I was like, all right, cool, I don't talk to my ex. And let's keep it that way. You know what I mean? Let's keep it that way so everybody feels safe. She agreed. I agreed. Didn't take less than, 3-4 months. And, you know, when people are trying to do damage, the ladies know exactly what they're doing. The man them knows what they're doing. When they drop in that, oh, I just spoke to my ex. I was confused because I know that we originally agreed we weren't talking to exes. You know what I'm saying to you? I remember that. And I remember Zaki's conversation where I was standing. I was on Chicken Shop. I remember Zaki, I was coming out of Chicken Shop, and I remember I asked myself, wait, what? I said, I'm going mad, because I know that we spoke about this 3 months ago before we started a relationship, that we don't talk to exes and everybody's cool. Yeah. And so it was interesting because then she went on to say, oh yeah, no, we have a thing where we kind of like talk to each other every like 3 or 4 months just to kind of check up on each other. I said, listen, that's wonderful. I love the fact that you guys can have that kind of situation. But can I be honest? Did we not discuss this about in the beginning of the relationship about what our policy was when it comes to exes? I said, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't feel comfortable with the situation. I don't like that. I don't like it because we also agreed and you're now slipping it in. When I said that girl gaslit me, bro, I'm talking about, what do you mean? We never discussed it. I never agreed. I said, wait a minute. I'm going mad. I think I'm going mad. Yeah, I think I'm going mad because I remember that conversation distinctly, because the next thing I did, I said, I need to close my account that had a joint account with my previous ex. So that's why I said that conversation came up. I know why that conversation came up, because I was going to speak to that other ex and say I need to close that account and not speak anymore after that. So I know we've had the conversation. I'm not mad. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. The person gaslit me in that situation. So I said to say that boundaries are important and essential within the relationship, not just for the relationship, but to protect actually the individual in the relationship as well, which is me, and it's you, right? Your boundaries of what you find to be acceptable and what you're okay with, and what makes you feel safe, right? So you're allowed to go and speak to your ex if you want to. It's going to make me feel uncomfortable, and I think for me personally, this would set a precedence of breaking trust within the relationship. I have to start. I always say this: don't give me something to believe in. I shouldn't have to believe you. Don't put yourself in a situation where I have to believe you. Like there are situations where it's not your fault. We get it. Yeah, it happened. There are situations where you have put your hand into a pot, and now your hand's hot, and now you're asking me to believe you that you got done dirty in the situation, or you didn't do anything in the situation, or you were the innocent part in the situation. And like I always say, don't give me something to believe in because it's long. Because now I've got to force my brain to believe you. But there will always be a marker against what you said, which is similar to what you said, Gus. There will always be a marker in that brain. So boundaries, I believe, is very important. I think rules that we establish from the beginning of a relationship are very, very important as well. Letting people know this is how we operate. This is how we deal with things when it comes to exes, outside parties, anybody that's that maybe you think that likes you, whatever. These are the rules of how we handle those people. So when I ask that question, what is the boundaries that we should be implementing in these scenarios or in relationships to protect ourselves from, or protect the relationship as well from these kind of scenarios and situations? What kind of boundaries should we place in there, boys, in this respect? Yes, Gus, you ready to go?
I would say when I'm looking at boundaries, one thing which I've definitely learned to accept a lot more is practice whatever it is you want to do in a relationship. Start practicing it as a single person, and that's what my book pushes a lot as well. Because the way that we manage ourselves as single people gives us the strong foundation, the certainty to be able to really enforce things that make sense and in a consistent way when you're with somebody else. So I would say, number one, as an individual, what boundaries do you have in your life? It might even be relationship wise, but I'd say definitely try to focus on relationships. What boundaries do you have and how do you enforce them currently? So are you able to have a distance between your exes? How are you managing that relationship? Just analyze that in and of yourself, first of all. And anything that you keep, that's what you bring to a certain place. I would always caution people, do not bring something that you don't keep, because you're likely to break your own rules. And this is where the issues get marred, the gaslighting happens. But when you're used to enforcing your own boundaries, like I don't speak to my ex, even if I'm single and I'm not dating anybody, it will be easy for you to do in a relationship because that's what you do anyway. So I would say when it comes to relationships, tell yourself what your boundaries are. That's why I tell myself, what are my boundaries before I even start speaking to someone? So if I say, I do not date people who are still in touch with their ex. I do not date people who have been in a relationship in the last 6 months. I do not date you get what I mean? Those are the kind of boundaries that I put. And when you hear these things come up, try to be strict with your boundary. Don't try to say, oh, but they said this. Oh, but this one is extra special. If the boundary is there's a reason behind it and it's worth enforcing, push it. So it's hard for me to tell people what it should be, but I would always say the absolute foundation is this person completely done with the past? How far were they done with the past? What does done look like? Let them describe to you what we are done and we have been done looks like in their own words. Because someone can say, oh, we're done. But they're done means we've broken up, but they're still in touch. Somebody else can say we're done means they don't exist to me. They're dead to me. If I see them, I don't even shake their hand. That's another extreme type of done, where it's like, that's going to cause issues. Because now animosity is likely to start even if you ignore somebody and they're there in the vicinity. So I would say, let someone describe to you what we're done. I don't talk to them. What does that actually look like? Is there tension involved in this? Yeah. But yeah, to be clear, that's my boundary. Someone that is done with the past and I'm able to see them, say hi, no need, no desire to do any more than that. I'll be cordial, but we do not speak. I don't seek them out. And if they seek me out, there is no response. or I make it very clear to them in the response, oh, thank you for reaching out. I don't think there's any need to talk. I'm in a relationship, by the way. That's the only kind of adequate response that I would say is valid.
100%. 100%. Jay?
You know what? There's several ways I can answer this, but the first one, I'll reiterate what Gus said. It's something I never practiced or didn't really practice when I was younger. But as I got older, it was almost like, if you're no longer part of my life, I'm going to follow my own advice. And I already know there's a high chance you're likely going to come back. So at that point, what's my position? Now, usually it was never really like in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. It was always like long time down the line. And by that time, I would have a partner. And I would always be open. I'm not saying I stopped a lot of them, but I'll always be open. I'll always say, this is the current situation. And when we're not talking about relationships, you know what I mean? And this is where, like I was saying before, how I've been the other person where, you know, I was having conversations I didn't need to. And I felt like some sort of solace in the fact that, oh yeah, we're just talking, but I'm telling them I had a partner now. Me telling them I had a partner was fine. That was part of the first boundary. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily stop people. So for me, I'll be honest, I just started not answering, not responding. You know, oh, okay, you're calling me. I'm not going to pick up. Oh, yeah, I see you around. Hi, how are you? Oh, yeah, call me. No, I'm not going to call you. It's okay. Why don't we go out? No, we're not going to do that. Like, I'll be that harsh. I'll be that direct. And for a man to do that, some ladies, I've never really heard a man be that principled, right? But for me, I just know where it's going to go. Like, I remember there was a lady who, I won't even say she was my ex, but we just had like 3 or 4 months of just, you know, just a moment, for example. And I remember years later, I think she contacted me on, I don't even know what platform it was. And I was single at this time. And we were just talking, right? We were just talking, etc., just normal. And she talked about, oh, yeah, so when am I going to see you? Now, I already know this girl she's a heavy flirt. Like, she just flirts. And I already know how she used to see me. And I know our situation ended, not necessarily because it ran its course, because of a misunderstanding. And I just never double back. So I said to myself, I'm an idiot if I go and see her, because I know what's going to happen. And I remember I was single. I wasn't even a Christian at this time, but I was single. And I could do whatever I want. She could do whatever I want. But I put that boundary around myself to say, Jason, you don't need to do that. And this is where I've talked before about how I changed at a certain age, where I no longer saw it as desirable to now go and do certain things just because I could, because that's not the type of man I wanted to be. Right? That's not who I wanted to roll as. So that's one boundary. Another boundary I can say is that, and more so this is to do with timing. When I was 17, and this set a precedence for the rest of my life, I was introduced to someone as a rebound, to be honest with you. Like, one of my friends, I was actually with one of her friends, but she didn't like the way the friend treated me. And when me and that girl broke up within the same 2 weeks, she introduced me to a cousin. So I started talking to the cousin on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Please tell me why on Monday I made her my girlfriend. Please tell me why. Why did I do that? There was no, why did I do that? You know, hey, you know, and part of that was I wasn't over the past. Part of that was I also wanted to make her jealous. I also wanted to see and blah, blah, blah. Part of that is because I just didn't want to be alone at the time. Do you know what happened? Whilst I was still in that relationship, I went back to the ex anyway. So I had 2 girlfriends for a couple of months until the ex found out, and she broke up with me, but the one I was with didn't, and that continued, you know, for example. And I look at that situation as I didn't need to be in that, because with me and this new girl, it was never going to work. So why did I do it? And that timing stuff set a precedence for the rest of my life. Because of that, I said to myself, I don't actually have a timing thing. I don't care about timing. where you want to be with someone, etc. I don't believe you have to, especially marriage, you have to be with them for 5 years, 3 years. If that's someone else's belief, and I fully understand that, by the way, why you feel a particular way, I'm not going to debate and argue with you about it. I get why you're going to do that. But my whole being within myself doesn't have a time frame. But the question is, how am I moving then? And then when we're younger, we're realizing we're moving a lot with emotions, not with wisdom. So the boundary I set around myself is, all right, if I don't have a strict time frame, I've got friends that do. If I don't have a strict time frame, how am I maneuvering? And then I said to myself, well, I need to have more conversations. It doesn't matter how I feel. I need to have the conversations to know when is the right time to move forward. With some people, that could be a couple months. Some people, it could be longer. With my wife, again, we have history, so it's a bit different. But I think we was dating for around 6 months before we was official. For example, some people might like that, some people don't. But there were reasons for that, and we enjoyed our conversations. We enjoyed what we was doing during that time, without the added weight of, okay, now we're together, because we know what the trajectory is going to be. So that's one of the boundaries I put around myself, is to make sure I have conversations. It doesn't mean I'll still always get things right, but at least I know I'm not rushing. At least I know I'm not going with my sleeve on, what's the saying? Your heart in your sleeve, right? At least I know I'm not putting myself in situations that I can't get out of. Because even when I look at myself when I was younger, there were certain ladies that I knew I don't want this long term. But by that time, the first 1 or 2 weeks, do you know what I mean? We've already crossed a certain line, and I can't then say, okay, thank you, bye. So I don't want to be, I can't use certain words, but I didn't want to be an evil guy. So now I'm in a situation where we now have to continue. I now have to think, I just got to let this run this course then, etc. Right? And it did, and it usually did. But again, it's, why was I doing that? It's because of, I wasn't moving with wisdom. I wasn't moving with conversations. I was, what's the word? I was minimizing the impact by saying, well, making an adult decision. So these are some of the things that I had to put around me, because if I can't trust myself to just keep calm, keep cool, there are certain things I need to put in place so that, and if I stick to it, it's safeguarding. It's not allowing me to be in a silly situation. And it worked. And it worked until I didn't need to do that anymore, until I was just, I don't care what you're saying, but I don't care what this is. It's a no. I'm looking at you, I'm getting to know you. It's a no. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. It's a no. I can't lie to you. It's a no. And trust me, a lot of people were upset. And before I finish, one of the things I forgot to say about the situation where someone from my past started talking to me again, and was very flirtatious. When I said, I'm not going to meet you, her response was, well, I'm not going to be friends with someone who I don't see. And I've never heard that in my life. I've got friends from school who I hardly see. I've not seen them in years. And when we talk, it's great conversation. So why are you, of all people, saying that? And that's when I deeped, you've just kind of proved me right. So I thank myself for having that boundary, because I know what you would have done if I went to go and see you. I know where that, I'm not saying I would have gone and done anything myself. I wouldn't have reciprocated. But again, it's a situation I didn't need to put myself in. It's a conversation I didn't need to have. It's yeah, you know what I mean? It's just a conversation I didn't need to have with her or any woman of my future when we're talking about our past. Yeah, that's me, bro.
Love that. Gus, have you asked about the boundaries conversation?
Yeah, I answered first.
Okay. Well, so then let me ask my next question then around that, and you can answer it. Because we have spoken about transparency already. You kind of spoke about it, both of you, in terms of not you might be questioning that person after as well. And you've also spoke about, how your partner's response would be. You spoke about that a little bit earlier on in terms of that, in that aspect. And then we touched a little bit as well within the feelings and whether, if she reacted a particular way, would there be unresolved feelings in this space? I want to talk a little bit different now. In essence, where what if somebody says that they're still friends with the ex? So they haven't come back, but they're still friends with the ex. The ex is cool. All right, it's been cool. It's been a couple of years. They're cool. Them and the ex them are cool. Them and the boy there, they're cool. You hear me? He's never tried nothing. In fact, he's even got his own missus. You know, and just the missus even is cool with her. Do you know what I mean? Like, the ones where they set up nicely for you. Like, I even sometimes even go around with the missus there. The one where you're even thinking whether they're gonna be a polyamorous relationship. But them things there. So my question is then, can someone can someone be the friends with the ex then? Can someone develop a friendship, a genuine friendship with somebody who is an ex in that scenario? And if you found out that your partner, their friend was an ex, how would you deal with it? How would you respond to that situation from your perspective? Because obviously, I go choose.
You can be friends with your ex. You just can't be with me. So you can do whatever you want to do in this life. I can't stop you from doing whatever it is you want to do. So be free. God gave us free will, and I think you should exercise it absolutely and eat the fruit of your free will. So one of the fruits that I think someone will certainly eat of their free will is you will not be with me, because you and your ex, like when you say out loud, or you get somebody to say out loud themselves, it starts to sound crazier and crazier for the person who chooses to be there with someone who's friends with their ex. Because the saying out loud part is, oh, so this person is your ex, right? Yeah, it's my ex. So when you first saw them, you thought, tasty, right? Oh, yeah. And they looked at you and they said, tasty, right? Right. And then you guys became something romantic. You dreamt about the future, sexual temptation, all of these things were there. Yeah. Oh, and then something happened and you broke up. Yeah. But then we wanted to stay in touch. Oh, and you just got rid of all of the romantic feelings. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Just how does that sound to you? For me, that sounds it sounds wild. For me, that sounds wild. So you're just platonic now. Yeah, we're just platonic. He doesn't want anything from you. No. You don't want anything from him. We just want to be around. We just really value a friendship. That's something which I simply don't buy, because I will tell you this from what I've seen, even when my friends have talked about this, a lot of people have talked about this, any situation I've seen this, one of them desires this thing more than the other. And the reason why I see that is because, especially when it's the guy, and especially if it's a thing where I would always ask any guy who's in this situation, when this thing ended, did this woman end it or did you end it? If the woman ended it, this thing is not dead. This thing is not dead. 99% of the time, the guy's usually lingering around and there's something he didn't receive, which low-key he's waiting to receive. But this woman is a good comfort blanket to be around. It's a beautiful woman that I can be around innocently. Like nobody will ask any questions. So we can just spend an unlimited amount of time together. I can still go chat to other women, but when I'm bored or, when I'm not able to get anybody else and I still need this thing soothed within me, I go to this beautiful woman who I think is very, very attractive and I'm able to spend unlimited time with her. That's what I've seen majority of the time. And most times women can't even tell that that's what's happening. And so what I do tend to ask a lot of guys is this. Oh no, this is what I tend to ask a lot of my female friends who are in those kind of, I have my male bestie. If you was to go back to your birthday suit, you understand what I'm saying? If you were to get into your birthday outfit, how you are born, how you entered this world, if you were to get like that in front of your male friend, would he be like, oh, that's disgusting, what are you doing? Is that what he would say? Because that's what he would say for the people who are like his sisters, his biological sibling, and also those who are not biological, but they're like mandem. That's what they would say. If you do not believe that he would do that, which most times they will not do, that's not your friend. That's not your friend. So that's my stance. That's why I wouldn't do it, because I don't believe it. Once you've been romantic with somebody, they will always have a romantic angle in your life. I don't think you can rid yourself of it. Or even if you do rid yourself of it, it can be awakened at the most opportune time. Yeah. And I think those things get awakened in the worst possible time. It's when you're in a relationship, things have gone wrong, because they're your shoulder to cry on, when the emotions come up enough and you guys have had a romantic angle, it can return. Why? Because you're the romantic, amazing guy who loves me through all of my everything, and you've always been there for me. The amount of guys who've ended up marrying women when they've had that storyline is too high. It's too high. Yeah, it's too high. And oftentimes these guys, the last thing I'll say is these guys oftentimes, when the woman who's their female bestie gets with their actual boyfriend or husband, why is it that you and this new guy don't get along too well? Why are you guys not besties? Because any genuine friend would be like, oh my days, I'm so happy for you. I want the world for you. This guy's an amazing guy. I can't wait to link up with him. Like you guys are just, why is it that your friendship started to erode when Mr. Man arrived and put a ring on it? These are my thoughts.
Because you realized that the new man on the block, what can I say, is a greater man than he is. And he no longer has that control. He no longer has that pull. Or over time, it's going to disappear. So he starts acting up. That's one thing that might happen, bro. But I love everything that you said, and it feels, every time this comes up here, I always think to myself, why do people defend this? Because do you know how often these scenarios show up, right? I want to read another scripture that Kojo gave us, right, which is Song of Solomon's 2:15. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil and ruin the vineyards of love, while our vineyards are in blossom. While our vineyards are in blossom, the foxes will come and do what foxes do. We spoke about already. Human beings are just human beings. Like our feelings, whatever we decide to do, what we're trying to do. A lot of people, as we used to call it back in the day, are playing their position. They know that they can't act now, but they can wait around to act later. A lot of these things you may be able to see, but there's certain things that you don't know. Which is why any therapist, any coach, any relationship or marriage counselor worth their weight in gold will tell you, close all back doors. Close them. Anything that's from your past that is trying to be present in your future, get rid of it. Because you don't have full control over what they try and do. And there may be moments where you betray yourself. And that happens. There's lots of people who put themselves into dumb situations and think, why did I just go and do that? Moments of weaknesses, right? Whether that's physical, mental, emotional. Again, last year I gave a story, right? She was talking to the ex for, in fact, to this day, I don't even know how long. And even though the way she described the relationship was something that she had to really get away from. And she was happy that she was with now me, like, you know, a guy from the ends, but also now I'm a Christian. So my purpose, my journey, etc. But somehow that situation still put her in a place where she had to break up with me just to go and enjoy a month with him doing what she wanted to do, right? So these things happen, man. These things do happen. And this is why when you're looking at it, I know some people will be like, well, if okay, let's just say in our point of view, if another guy's able to do that, that was never your girl in the first place, just charge it to the game. I get it. But I'll also say, no, like, you have your self-respect. You also need to say, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. This is what I want, this is what I don't want. This is what I'm going to entertain, this is what I'm not going to entertain. And if you're doing something that I don't entertain and you're being defensive over it, I'm not necessarily going to break up straight away, but we're going to have some serious conversations, because now I need to understand, why are you doing these things? As I said earlier, it's not just exes, it's where, you know, there are people who like you. You know, there are people who look at you a certain way. So the question is, why do you keep them there? And I think, in fact, every time this comes up, I want to ask ladies if guys do this too. But as guys, what we notice that there is a lot of ladies who keep certain guys around because of what they get from them. One can be smacks. One could be random friend specs when you're just feeling a type of way, if that's the lifestyle you have. Another one can be, okay, what do you get from him? He comes around and he fixes stuff. You know, I've even heard of a situation where the guy comes around to look after a kid. Do you know what I mean? While she's out doing something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you? And from time to time, she may give him something, but it's like when we're looking at these situations, I just think to myself, like, why are you doing these things? Like, let's not pull the wool over our eyes, because truly, like, I'm with Gus on this. Even if you're saying there's nothing there, I don't see that person in the same way. I don't care how many relationships the other person gets into. I can never be sure, right, that person is completely done. Person is completely over with, just because of the level of affairs, the level of questionable moments that happen. And I know someone will probably turn around to us. So, are you guys saying you're one of those people then, that there's people in your past that you just don't know and blah, 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 blah? I get it. And I'm sure there are people who can categorically say 1000%. But the point is there, I can't, regardless of what my opinion is on that particular person, I can't be sure on how they feel. Even if I say I could be next to that person, I don't want to do anything. Do you know what I mean? But as a human being, I'm also going to say, why would I put myself in a position just to test? Just to test. Why would I do that? And just to see. I don't even want to think about them. I don't want to look at them in that way. I don't even want to connect heart to heart. I don't want to have those conversations, because you have those conversations, it's going to land. And then you're going to feel, wow, I see this person in a new light, or I see them how I used to. Oh my gosh. And the Bible tells us to be careful of our minds and hearts, right? Because it can trick us. It can really trick us in a moment. I remember we talked about how affairs happen as well, like especially at work, especially in environments where you're around people all the time. And just these are the things just to be careful of. And again, insecurity, say it, whatever you want to say, jealousy, say what you want to say. But these are just situations that just don't make sense. You should be okay leaving those things behind completely, you know, giving nothing to chance. You don't need the conversation. And the last thing I'll say, if they're your friend, okay, would you invite them to the wedding? If you're going to say yeah, then we got some real questions to ask. If you're going to say no, there's no questions to ask, because now you've actually answered the question yourself. If they're your friend like that, if you check in every 4 months because you care, you don't want to make sure you're good, but you're also saying you're not going to invite them to the wedding, they're not your friend then. Do you know what I mean? Like there's lots of questions to raise when it comes to this, and I know a lot of people that we know will be defensive over it. Like if we brought this, I'm sure we had this conversation on TikTok, and it wasn't like an open and shut case. No, you shouldn't be. There are some people who were saying insecure. There are some people saying why not, but we understand why those people were saying what they were saying, and we thank them as well, because as people looking in, for the single guys, for the single ladies, they're telling you exactly how they are, how they think, so you now have a decision to make. And I think that's the point. Before I stop talking, the point is, in a lot of these situations, a lot of people are not transparent. They're just not transparent enough to give that person agency to make a decision. So a lot of people find out the hard way it wasn't exactly what they was portraying.
I hear that. Okay. Well, listen, look, our time has reached an hour. And I like to try and be at least boundary led. You know what I'm saying to you? Before you know it, you break boundaries here, you're breaking boundaries with baddies. So it's good practice. It's good practice. Let me get everybody's final 1 minute statement on this topic, because I think it is a powerful conversation, because again, exes are a real thing, and you may encounter those things in the dating phase, and you want people to know how to handle those things effectively as well. So let me get everyone's minute kind of summary. Gus?
So I would say this. I would flip it on its head and say, if you're struggling to apply it, to figure out exactly what boundaries, where should I apply it, blah, 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 I would say this. Focus on the vision. In your mind, what would you like to build with this new person? What's the most ideal version of this thing? Write it out. Even if you want to focus on X's, write down the topic X and write down with regards to X's or exclusivity. Let's have it as a topic of exclusivity. Write down what the ideal situation would be. Write down what you'd want for your child. I always tell people this. Write down what you would want for your child. When you look at that, ask yourself, am I acting in the best interest to make this vision come to life? Any action I do, is it making the vision come to life, or is it kind of like casting shadows and bringing, risk into the relationship? If the answer is yes, is bringing risk, just don't do it. And this will differ for different people, because you have to ask the person that you're with, are you comfortable with this? If they say no, for me as an individual, I don't like this, you need to move the boundary and make it suitable for their comfortability as well. So you need to figure out how these things work. If you're not happy to move that boundary to that extent because you feel as if it's too extreme, you're probably with the wrong person, and it'll be safest that you two separate and you find someone who agrees with these kind of boundaries. Let like be for like. That's what I would say. But always ask yourself, am I serving the best interest of the relationship? If the answer is no, it adds some risk, remove it. If it's neutral, I would say chances are it's negative. It's never neutral.
Thank you, Gus. It's never neutral. Jay?
For me, a lot of this starts even before the relationship. And I think there's a lot of people who do think, okay, when I get into a relationship, then I shut it off. And it's never as simple as that. It's because, in fact, if you can even do that, then you shouldn't have even been doing it in the first place. But it's never as simple as that. There's going to be crossovers. There's going to be a bit of confusion. Again, because there's a reason why you're keeping that person in your life. You're unable to let go of something. And there is a lot of limerence. There is a lot of, this is how off and on behavior happens as well. Like you're just unable to just leave what needs to be left behind. And especially where some people might decide, okay, it's not going to work between us. It doesn't necessarily mean the feeling's gone, like what Gus is saying. And again, for me, it's just about being open and honest with yourself, first and foremost. And as you meet someone, I know you feel like you don't want to mess up something that can be good, but you owe it to them to be completely honest about your situation. So then again, like that's the third time I'm saying it, so they can make a decision. If they want to continue, then, that's on them. But at least inform correctly so that they're able to make a decision, because ultimately you don't want to be in a messy situation yourself. And it's so easy to put yourself in that, especially when you're going through things emotionally, you're all over the place. I'll always point to you, like what standard you want to set for yourself. And one of the things I forgot to mention is with that girl who's had a couple months and she came back, it was also in a moment where I was transitioning to Christ. And she wasn't the only one that tried to come back as well, funny enough. So part of the boundary was me saying, I know I'm being made new in Christ and everything else, right? But I don't even want to give that to you, because some people are going to be like, oh, you're being spiritual and things like that. Like, it's real deep that to understand exactly what that means. But to keep it simple, the type of human being, the type of man I wanted to be is boundary led. None of that represented who I wanted to become. That was the boundary that was set. I think you're talking about, Gus. Is this a is this a representation of where I'm going? Or am I taking myself back? The answer was no. So when they were trying their little, whatever they're doing, and I was being principled and saying no, they was even shocked. They was even shocked. They wanted to fight me, argue with me, take offense, because they weren't listening to me in the first place. Like I remember one that was saying, I want to kind of start what we was doing again. And she was even seeing someone else. And I said, no, like, that's not what I'm on no more. It's not who I am. She said, okay, I'm going to call you back. She called me back and said, okay, I got rid of the other guy because I thought you didn't want to do it because of the other guy. And by the way, beforehand, she gave me a plan. She's going to see me one week and see the other guy the next week. That was silly. But I said to myself, that's not why I said no. And I had to explain. And then then she was saying to me, and there's this thing about when you become a changed person, a lot of people from your past, for some reason, want access to that. And this is what you need to be careful of. A lot of people want access to that. One, people, like I said, want to test you, but there's other people who generally want this new version of you. They want to take from that, and you have to be very careful because it's quite manipulative. And they will take offense because they already think, because of your prior history and maybe the lack of boundaries that we had, that we're easily going to step back, easily going to come back. But the moment that we're principled, yeah, it may be a bit uncomfortable because you're not used to doing it. There's some people who promise the world and all of a sudden feel disappointed. Oh my gosh, I'm going to disappoint that person and etc. It doesn't matter because you're saving yourself from a lot of headache, a lot of unnecessary situations. Don't let, your feelings or life delude you. Honestly, man, once you've moved past, completely moved past. If there is I said this to a lady one time, if there is an ex that you generally can't get over, have a conversation. Because the least that you need is to offload and then see where you're at. But maybe that person could be for you. The wrong thing to do is then spend your life not being able to give people 100% of you because you've got this unfinished business. I'm not encouraging to do that, by the way, when people are in relationships or people are married. I'm saying if people are single, then they're single, right? So hear what I'm saying. I'm not contradicting what I said at the beginning. But if it's a situation where you're able to have a legal conversation, have a legal conversation. Because like Cole just said in the beginning, these situations happen over and over and over again. They get talked about, they get admitted after the fact, even if they don't in the beginning. A lot of people say, okay, let me go and see what it feels like. And let me remind myself, a lot of people go and fail the test just so they can see what it feels like and then decide, is this what I want? That's not the right way to go about things. So yeah, just be careful, man. Like life ain't all doom and gloom. But what we're saying is just be wise. As the ladies will say, be guided.
Be guided indeed. All right, listen. Well, we've come to a glorious end with you guys' final statements, and I appreciate the breakdowns you guys gave. I think it's conclusively clear about dealing with exes and what we should do. I hope that if you've been listening, that you've taken the advice on board and it's helped you to be able to make a very clear plan in terms of going forward. I want you to recognize that, in these situations, tough things happen. Exes do come back as well. And how you handle this is a great insight into how you'll go forward. If that person is willing to respect you and respect what you guys are building, fantastic. If they're not, you know where to send them, to the gulag. Okay, you need to say less. You know what I'm saying to you? It needs to be understood that I'm not going to talk too much. I've said what I've said. You know what I mean? So anyway, listen, it's been a great conversation, boys, and I appreciate that as always. Gus, where can I find you? And I know you've written a book, so let them know as well.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram only. And it's Gus Nyberg, as you can see on screen, Gus.Nyberg. And my book is called The Biblical Dating Framework. So if you're somebody who feels as if you're in the dating scene and it's trenches, you don't really know how to figure it out, how to suss people out. Are you in the right place? Are you ready? Am I actually preparing for marriage the right way, or am I preparing myself to fail? This book will clear up every single thing regarding that. And you can find that on Amazon.
Thank you, Gus. Jay?
Yes, you can find me on Jay Anderson King. That's the Instagram. That's also my YouTube. I'm going to start building. You can also find me on TikTok on Black Muscle 91. You see me a lot of times with Kojo, where we have a community called Say Less, where we do things out there. Great communities building. Currently, I've over 105 people. We started from scratch, so it's solid. Great conversations. Good family. Great everything. Personally, I'm also writing 2 books as well. One is a weekly guide, transformational guide, rebuilding guide for men specifically. And the other one is more in detail about specific topics, especially talking a lot about my experiences, a lot of my past as well, things that my friends have gone through, but specifically homing onto just rebuilding yourself as a man.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Boys, thank you. It's been a great pleasure to have this conversation. I'm sure we'll be back again next week talking about another juicy topic to break down as well. In fact, I think next week's topic is, well, it's still on exes. So our partner's ex called and I feel insecure. So I guess we're going to talk a little bit about what happens in that particular aspect. You know, some people go through those situations. The ex just called. Not even that you even had a choice. The ex just called in that space. You know what I'm saying to you? So these things, they do be happening. So we'll talk about that as well. All right, listen, audience, thank you so much. I appreciate you lot. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again next week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Behave yourselves out there and enjoy the day.
Shattered dreams served on a bedrock of broken stream. It seemed revenge is a dish best served cold.